Hey everyone, welcome to this brand new episode of Fenoms. In today's episode, we have an amazing guest. We have Shravan Bhati, and he is from SatLeo Labs. They just raised $3.3 million in their pre-seed round. Congratulations on that. How do you feel about that moment currently, Shravan?
Thank you so much, Mark. First of all, thank you so much for having me. And about raising $3.3 million in pre-seed round certainly is a big achievement for us. But we, from the starting, quite confident that if we are solving the ground level problem, certainly, uh, the money is the secondary thing, which certainly can follow up with, the problems on which we are focusing on and trying to solve.
Yeah, I can imagine. And before this journey even started, can you tell us a little bit who were you before even starting being a founder of such a great company?
Sure, Mark. So, my journey actually started back in 2011 when I just completed my master's in geomatics and space application. And after that, I've joined a company where that time that company was also a startup. I was the sixth employee there, but I got a lot of exposure there in that particular company where I started the department in geospatial, use my expertise and build a team of around 150 to 200 people. Worked specifically in the satellite business, and by using that satellite data, we were working on solving multiple problems. And then after that, when I left that company, I was one of the youngest CHO there, almost doing some $100 million of revenue for the company. And after that, I joined AWS back in 2022. And in AWS also, I was handling the pan India responsibility in the satellite business. And during that time, in fact, during my Amnex time, we were implementing a very marquee project, and I realized that the temperature data, how important is the temperature data, and there is a story behind this. It is not that someday we thought that let's fly some satellites in the space and get the thermal data out of it. It is a story behind this, where when we were working on implementing an agriculture project, and in that project, we need to use the satellite data, the AI, and machine learning for certain outputs, identification of different crops, the health information of the crops, the yield estimation of the crops, without going on the ground. So I was implementing that project. Particular project was the owner of the project, and we have actually estimated the yield of a particular area. But when we cross-check that yield, we realized one thing, that the inaccuracy with that particular yield was around 30 to 35%. And when we double click on the problem, I understood one thing, that all the other data sets which we have collected was right, other than the temperature information, because there was no nearby automatic weather stations. And we have just taken that data from a weather company. And we realized that, look, this is the problem which we need to solve. Initially, it's not that where we thought that we should solve this problem by using satellite data or by using space technology. We thought that maybe drones can solve these problems, or IoT sensors, having a cheaper IoT sensor options can also solve this particular problem. But we realized one thing, that the scalability with these both solutions are not possible to cover the entire globe. And in fact, I met my co-founders in that particular project only. So one of my co-founder, he's the ex Indian Space Research Organization scientist. So he was heading the committee from the government side, monitoring the similar project. And we sat together and we actually did a lot of brainstorming, and we understood one thing, that through the space we could have actually solved this particular problem. And then from back 2018, we started working on this problem, trying to solve how we can actually reach out to better resolution, which should have better temporal resolution, right? So that we can cover the entire globe as well as with a better accuracy.
Whoa, that's an incredible vision. I'm just curious, before even that all happened, like we're talking about when you were way younger, what got you into the business of space itself and all of that, data that pretty much even the one percenter developers would never get into. It's so niche. What was your main driver that generated this interest? I'm just curious.
So, Mark, during my master's, I've been to a very renowned organization in India, which is ISRO, IRSO. So, in that, in ISRO, we have uh, completed some project during our college time. I met certain scientists. I understood that how satellites are solving the ground level applications, because we are living in India, right? It's a huge country, and we cannot use certain. We have to capture a lot of data sets, right? And for capturing the data sets, we need a technology which actually can cover this information, correct, capture the data in a very minimum time, because you have to process the information and provide the information as well as solution, right? In a very less time, where we understood that. And personally, when I've seen that how satellite can solve the ground level applications, ground level problems, right? Then I thought that this is the technology or the business in which I want to go further. That's why when I joined Amnex, in Amnex also, I started a new BU there, which was specifically focusing on the satellite technology and solutions.
Got it. And do you remember that aha moment that made you decide that, okay, you're going to sacrifice the next multiple years just on the focus of this specific business? Like, what was it that really touched you profoundly enough to go ahead and go full speed on this?
Okay, so that incidence is basically, I already mentioned, right? When we were executing a project which was covering the entire state, right? It's one of the second largest state in India, right? And I realized one thing, that the temperature data which we have
Right,
is
right.
not accurate. And this is the situation in all over the world. We have solved many problems in the entire world, right? Uh, yeah. So and I realized that 5 degrees Celsius temperature variation in the crop can reduce 20 to 25% of the yield of any particular crop. So the impact of temperature on, specifically when I started with agriculture, is that huge. And when we double click on the problem, we dive deep into the problem, we understood one thing, not only in agriculture, but if you will go into the other domains and sector. For an example, when we talk about the urban areas, where the urban heat islands are the new problem because of the climate change, and still we do not have any technology through which we can predict it timely, right? Without installing a lot of IoT devices. So, and then gradually we also have seen that this data is quite useful in identification of GHG gases. In fact, in quantification also, you can use the data in disaster management system. This data can play a huge role. In fact, last year we have seen, right, around 150 to $160 billion has been lost in Californian forest fire, right? This data not only identify the gravity of the forest fire, but also can identify the prone area which are quite vulnerable for the forest fire. So we realized that, okay, this is the problem which we wanted to solve, which we want to solve, and which we will solve, right? So, and then, as I mentioned, then when I discussed this with my co-founder, he was also very keen. And then our third co-founder, his name is Urmil, right? So he's from sales and marketing, and he was also working in the same organization. We thought that, look, this is the problem which we need to solve, right? It's a very big problem. And then we realized that how big is the market, right? So yeah, so it's from in our case, it's actually we first understood the problem, and we then after that we actually cracked that how we can solve this particular problem. And then we realized that, look, we have the background in the space tech, and through the space, by manufacturing the satellite a very in a state of art payload, we actually can solve these challenges which we all the entire world is right now trying to solve. Yeah.
Yeah, and in that journey, do you remember the moment where you decided, like with your co-founders, that it was time to raise?
Okay, so when we entered into it, right, the initial 1 year was entirely bootstrapped, because we understood the problem, right, from the day one, right. But we also wanted to see that is this data is actually useful or not. Like, it is already written, right, in the reports, in Big Four, many of the market reports, it has been mentioned the value of the thermal data. But we had realized one thing, that the entire world is right now focusing on the optical data, which is in the visible spectrum, and the synthetic aperture radar data. But we have understood that there are very few companies or very few startups focusing on the thermal region. So first 1 year, we have done all the R&D, where we actually spend money in designing our payload, and also reaching out to the customers, our partners, to sit with them and to understood that is this data is required or not, first of all. And what happened in first year, we got the LOIs of $25 million. So that particular time, we realized that, okay, so this requirement is there, right? Still we don't have the data, but our partners and the industry is looking for this data and ready to give us the LOIs. Then we thought that, okay, this is the time when we should go for the race. Yeah.
Interesting. So you got plenty of letters of intent for the founders that don't know what LOIs are. And you decided, like, okay, this is a signal, we should go ahead. And do you remember the hardest part before getting the LOIs? Was it mostly inbound, or did you actually have to prospect a little bit to actually get the letter of intents from potential investors?
Okay, so that's actually during that time when we were discussing with our partners as well as the industry about the value of the data. It was very hard to first showcase them that how this thermal data look like, and what exactly is the potential of this data, because this is quite a technical, right, and complex. Because if you compare it with the optical data, right, you actually can see the satellite images, right, the visible satellite images, where in the thermal, you see some colors, right, instead of can see the features, the objects, or the areas, right. For them, the temperature is basically important thing, right. So first, to make them understand that how this data will look like, and how it will solve their problems, right. So for an example, one of our partner is based out of Middle East, right, where they are working in the Neom city, right, in Saudi, and they wanted
Really?
to
That's great.
have, yes. So they actually wanted to have the temperature data of a particular region, right, where they want to plan the entire district and the city by using the thermal data, by using the temperature data, so that they can take care of the thermal comfort in the city, right?
Uh,
But they didn't know that how they will collect this information other than the IoT devices. So there we actually, talked to them, created some videos, used a lot of AI generated, technologies. And yeah, and in fact, we flew some drones also, right, in India to collect some information, some thermal data, right, and yeah, showcase them, and yeah, got the alloys from them.
That's incredible. For a lot of founders listening that are currently building and that are currently in early stage, getting letter of intents from potential leads like the city of Noam, which is based in, I think, Saudi Arabia, it's quite a challenge. Could you maybe share some tips to get these type of leads in the pipeline for fellow founders?
Absolutely, Mark. So whenever we are starting any startup, right, or a company, the first thing where we see, is basically problem, solving the actual problem. First, you have to understand the problem, and you have to dive deep into the problem. If solving that particular problem, there are multiple ways, and you are selecting a particular way to solve that particular problem, that should make sense for the industry. ROI should come. So, for an example, if I'm solving agriculture problem, right, but I'm sending the satellite which costing us more than 50 to 60 million dollars, nobody will buy this data in agriculture, right? So we have to be very conscious when we are taking the decision that which technology we will use to solve the problem so that the ROI should come back. Now, it is important first to see that who actually right now working on this particular problem, right? And then it is important to connect with your customers before in fact thinking about how you will solve it, because you have one way to solve that particular problem. But maybe if you'll talk to your customers, you will find out there are maybe a easier way to solve that particular problem instead of making it more complex. So talking to your customer, future customer, potential customers, actually gives you a lot of confidence and understanding about the problem itself. And then you actually can build your solution around this entire information, right? So for an example, when initially we started, right, we started with, so in thermal also, we are actually focusing on two bends. In fact, we are, if I am not wrong, the first company who are working on two different bends in thermal with having that high resolution, right? We might are the first company, right? So when we started with only one band, that is LWIR, long wave infrared. But when we talked to our customers, we understood one thing, that they also need the information in the urban areas of a single buildings, right? And we understood that, okay, for that information we also need MWIR, right, in our payload. So then we actually, instead of first thinking that, okay, what how our payload will look like, right, what we will build in our satellite, we first understood the problem, and accordingly we built the entire solution, like our payloads, how big will be our payloads, right, what exactly it will capture, what will be the resolution, right, what will be the temporal resolution of that satellite, right? So we actually structureize the entire solution around our problems. So that's why it's actually important to first understand which problem you are solving.
I love the answer. I think a lot of founders are definitely going to find value in that. And I'm curious, and I'm pretty sure that the audience listening in will be also curious to know a pre-seed of 3.3 million. It's rather, let's admit it to ourselves, it's a big pre-seed. Back maybe 2 years ago, pre-seeds were anywhere between 500K all the way to like 1 to 1.5. What made you decide to go for 3.3? Was there like a strategic decision that you want to share? Was it because maybe the material is way too expensive? Like, what was your take on it?
Okay, I would be very honest, right? So initially I also thought that, in fact, I will go with only $1 million instead of going with $3.3 million, right? But when we went into the market, within within a month time, we got our first term sheet, right? And we then in the next 15 days we got another term sheet, and we discussed about it that the market is ready to give us the money right now, right? And market is very important, in fact, in any particular geography, right? If you are getting the money, you have to understand one thing, that if in your business you need more money, right, and you are not worried about a lot about your equity, right, and you know that, right, that you need money to build something which is very significant, right? Because this is from the day first, our understanding that having the 100% of zero valuation company, it doesn't make any sense. Instead of that, if you will have 1% of you know a $1 billion company, that makes more sense, right? So then we realize one thing, that okay, how much we need to complete our first unit, a significant milestone, right? So you have to understand your milestone, what exactly, how much you need to reach to what particular milestones. So we jumped to our first milestone to the second milestone, and we diluted more for sure. But I think for us, building the first unit on a a very time bound, and or a we actually thought that instead of taking 2 years to build our first satellite, with this money we actually can build our first satellite within 1.5 years, which significantly give us the leap uh, on the requirement which is there in the market, right? Market is actually looking for this data, and this is the right time. So we thought that instead of just waiting for first have some 500K and then go for $1-2 million, we took $3.3 million from the market, although we received some $5 million of term sheet, right? But we thought, okay, $3.3 million is actually sufficient for that.
This is very important for the founders listening out there. Restraint in taking too much funding. It could be potentially devastating down the line with dilution and everything. And I think a lot of founders forget that. So I think you hit it right on the nail's head when you said you got to look at your KPIs and numbers before raising to make sure that it makes sense. And thank you for this very transparent answer. I think it's going to help a lot of founders calculate and think about this super important fact. And do you remember when you started getting the term sheets? How did you feel? How did you react? Did you start, reading books? Did you hire consultants to help you out with this process? Like, what was your mindset then?
Okay, so when we received our first term sheet, we thought that okay, we got the money, and within 10 days, actually, we will have the money in our account and we will start building our payload, right? But the next day, we realized one thing, that the term sheet is having, the first term sheet which we got was around 15 page term sheet. And although we are having experience, right? I personally having almost 16 to 20 years of experience in the industry, where actually I have worked with the legal team also, right, during our previous contracts and all. But to be very frank, I didn't understand a single line, right? A lot of jargons was in it, right? So I thought that it's important to have the expert to understand and make us understand what exactly the term sheet is saying, right? So we hired the legal consultant for us to help us, right, to understand the entire term sheet. Because one thing which where we founders, right, have to be very conscious in terms of cost. If you see the money, you say that okay, this is it, right? But there are a lot of liners or hidden words inside the term sheet which we have to understand properly, right, before going ahead. Because one thing which we have to understand, that it's a two-way communication, right? It's a two-way requirement. We need VCs, we need money from VC, but VC also need us, right? They are also looking for right founders, right? So instead of just signing the term sheet in the second day, we should actually thoroughly study the entire term sheet and take the legal opinion. That's important. That is very important, right? Before signing any term sheet, we should know what exactly we are signing. That's very important.
100%. And I think this is something that you can really not oversee because you're basically marrying a potential partner for at least 10 to 15, maybe even 20 years. It is very important to double check and triple check every line. Yeah, and thanks for sharing that. Also, I'm just curious, the day that you received the actual capital inside of your bank account, do you remember how did you celebrate?
We have still not celebrated, right, Mark? We still so when we received the term sheet, our first term sheet, it was of around $1 million, right? And then we thought that okay, we need to go for $3.3 million. We talked to multiple VCs. When we closed our round, right? Till that time we were full with lot of work, right? We started working on our payload, we started working on the team building, we started hiring the people, the new offices, right? And closing the purchase orders with our vendors. So still we have not celebrated, to be very frank. We are actually planning to, but yeah, it means that it when we started that time, we thought that okay, once we will have our first term sheet, we will certainly celebrate, we'll go somewhere out. But no, no. I think we are actually planning, but let's see what will happen. But yeah, answering your question, still we have not celebrated.
All good, all good. And may I ask, what was the largest mindset change that you've made to actually achieve the place that you're at right now? Like you must have probably read books, maybe sacrificed, maybe time with family, etc. So maybe you can share stuff like this with the other founders.
The most important thing is about first convincing yourself, right? Where in fact I personally were doing very well, right, in my previous job, and the opportunity cost, right, which I understand that having a very good salary and from the next month zero salary, right, it's a huge difference, right, personally. So mindset wise, to be very frank, from the day first I wanted to do something, right, which actually can impact, right, on the ground. And previously I thought that I'm doing the same thing by in my job, solving some ground level problems. But when I realized that how this thermal can change the way we are actually looking to our planet Earth, right? So yeah, I started talking to my wife, right, regarding that this is the thing which I want to do. It took almost 4 to 5 months, right, to convince her, right, having leaving the job and starting startup, right. And but yeah, at the end of the day, I'm good in negotiation, right? So convince her, and yeah, and yeah, so after 2 years, right, we are right now in a good situation. But yeah, for sure, when we started initially, after 8 to 9 months, during 8 to 9 months, when we started pitching to the VCs, in fact, it was not easy, although we received our first term sheet in 1 to 2 months. But it took almost 1.5 years, right, to reach to that level, where in some of the time it was I was thinking that I don't know if I have, I've actually solving actually this problem is that big enough or not, right? Because when I was talking to the people, I specifically VCs, they were not understanding, right? In the initial time, that what exactly we want to solve, why we want to solve it, and is this problem is that big enough where we should focus on. Mark, when I started, look, I started with a problem that, look, we do not have the accurate temperature data with us, right? And we are solving this problem like we will be a thermometer for the planet Earth, right? And when we talk about the ground level problem, that we are quite sure that right now what is happening, you're using Google Maps, right, to go from one location to another location. By using this Google Map, you have two layers of data sets. One is your satellite data. The second one is your traffic data, right? And very soon, a third layer will come on top of it, which will be a thermal comfort layer. So, for an example, from one location to another location, if you are riding your bike, right, you also would love to have the thermal comfort of that particular route, right? So that route we will tell to you guys, right? The Google will use our data for providing the thermal comfort. But yeah, so initial VCs, they were not understanding it, but yeah, after that, we got some good VCs who were into the deep tech and understood our problems. But yeah, during that time, we actually that the time was quite challenging, and you have to hold yourself, right, for all the possibilities. It's not essential that always you will get the positives, right? Many people have said that this is not the problem, right, at all. You can, you are getting the temperature data anyhow, right, from the weather companies. So yeah, you have to believe on yourself and focus on what exactly you want to do.
Absolutely. I love this answer. And thank you so much for the detailed explanation. I think a lot of founders will find tons of insight here. Can you share one last bit of the most difficult moment that you had so far in your journey? And how did you overcome this most difficult part?
Okay, so so entire this 2.5 years, right, it was up and down, right? Still I feel that I have not uh, you know reach to any particular time when I feel that it is a very difficult time for us, right, for me personally. But yeah, in initial time, as I mentioned, right, when so we pitched to almost 40 to 45 VCs, right, here in India. And when one of the VC, which is into deep tech in India, and first, that VC said, okay, we do not want to, look into your company because we already full with, the all the investment. We are in the fourth year of the fund. But then I met again with that VC in a conference. He again liked, our idea, our team, and he again talk to us. We had long chat and a couple of meetings. We went to IC, right, with that VC. Everything went smooth, right? I was 100% sure that I will get the term sheet from that VC. But when that VC said no, right, I think I was at the airport that time, right, traveling. That 1.5 hour, you know, journey, right? From Bangalore, this is one city in India, to my native city, Ahmedabad, was the difficult journey, right? I was thinking a lot of things. I was thinking, okay, fine, once I will land, maybe we have to do something else, we have to change the entire narrative, right? We have to change, in fact, maybe let's go to some other country. People are not understanding here in this VC ecosystem. We have to pitch to some other countries VCs where the people understand this problem, right? So but yeah, that time was a very difficult time. But as I mentioned, right, my wife is very supportive. When I came back to my home, she consoled me. Right, we had a long discussion about this, and she said that if you think that this is the problem, which is big enough, and if you can solve it, right, and you have already done previously, right, in your previous companies. So just believe on you or yourself, and just wait for another 15-20 days, and let's see what will happen. And I think within the next week we got another IC meeting, and yeah, we got the another term sheet from one of the VC.
Wow. Well, that's definitely an incredible story where even if things are not looking good, you should still keep your head up and be motivated and just keep on believing in your idea and, keep going forward. You never know when you're going to hit the diamonds, right? So this is really, really important. And what's your next step? Let's say that in the next 3 years, you probably have a vision for the business. Where do you wish to take the company at this point in the next 3 years approximately?
So two milestones which we want to reach to, right? One is I mentioned actually in our discussion that I want that within 2 years Google should have another information layer on top of the Google Maps, the thermal comfort layer, and that will come from SatLeo Labs for sure. I'm 100% sure about it, right? And the second one is that you know the last year we in India we lost almost 100K lives because of the heat strokes,
Hmm.
because of the
Yeah, yeah,
temperature,
yeah.
high temperature, right? If half of it we can save by providing the right time advisories and the information to the government officials, right, or the medical facilities, and can save at least half of their life. That is our motive, right? Where we want that within 2 years we should have that much of data with the accuracy which actually can impact to the real human life. So yeah, so this is our motive in next 2 years.
That's incredible. It's a very beautiful mission. I think is gonna not only save lives, but it's gonna improve our way of living. Indirectly, even with the Google layer, I'm sure it's gonna happen. I think Google is probably gonna be listening in, and I wish they will, and I hope that they will also invest. It's a great business, in my opinion. And do you think you're gonna encounter some challenges in the next 3 years building out this vision? What is the biggest obstacles that you see for now? From your perspective?
So challenges in specifically in our sector, right, in the space tech, is actually the availability of the capital, right? You need money, right, to complete your entire mission first, because it's not that after getting the money you will start getting the revenue, right? You have to wait till the time your first satellite should be up and start getting to provide you the data sets, and which you can sell to the market, right, and provide and justify the ROI. But with one satellite we cannot capture the entire globe, so we need multiple satellite to capture the entire globe, right? We have to complete the entire constellation, and for completion of the constellation we need a good amount of money, right, which should be available on right time always. Then only we actually can complete our entire mission, and then after that start generating the revenues. So yeah, so it's quite a capital intensive sector, right? And availability of the funds makes a huge difference. So that's why, in fact, we are also, after India, looking to see the other markets like US, right, and Europe, where we are already started talking to the VCs who can actually help us to reach to the milestone where we can complete our entire constellation.
That's incredible. I really appreciate you being so candid about everything in this podcast. If people want to reach out, for example, if investors are interested, what is the best way of getting to be in contact with you?
So certainly one thing is our mail ID is already mentioned in our website. Through our website, people can reach out to us, right? And my mail ID is just simply Shravan, SHRAVAN @SatLeoLabs.com. So yeah, directly, anybody can mail me, not only VCs, but also if somebody have some questions related to any, why thermal and how it can actually solve their problems, right? We would love to, chat and, make a community around this thermal data, right? So yeah, so this is, I think, through the mail, people can reach out to us.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this episode. Very appreciated. And everyone, if you found this helpful and useful, feel free to subscribe and see you in the next episode.